Lotmaxx return.
Everybody. Why don't I hear Brian? I don't hear Brian. Does everybody hear me? Can you guys hear me?
No. I can barely hear you over the music.
I can't hear anybody.
Can you hear me now? Okay, you're coming through extremely quiet, like you're at the volume of the background music grooving. Thumbs up for audio issues, everybody. Happy Sunday.
How's that?
A little better. Not by much, though.
What the heck is going on today?
Yes, we're having all sorts of audio issues here, guys. Just bear with me. I was trying to wire in my new compressor module but we had a few hiccups there. And sorry if I'm coming through. Sorry, I'm coming through hot. I will try and adjust those levels. How about that, guys? Is that better? Okay, let's bring it back down even more. How about that?
For me, is that better or no?
It's quiet. Yeah, Richard, it's kind of like your the background music's still playing. Happy Sunday, everybody. You know, we're getting no technical bugs here. You're coming through at at the same level as the background music. All right, well, I will try and get this rolling here while Richard looks into this. Happy Sunday, everybody. Let's see who we've got with us here today. We have Accord XTC, AK Dad of Twins, and DJ Minema, Dominic Versetto, Gary T, Geraldine Ham, Loch Ness, hey buddy, long time no see, Nas Masalma, Peter Reynolds, Pierre, Pure Life RC01 TJ, Robert 954, Robert Marvin, and Snapshot FPV. Happy Sunday. I'm going to say that probably 5 more times here today, but as you can tell, it has been one of those weeks. How's everyone been doing? What are you guys up to printing this week here? On my side, I've been printing some headphone holders. I've just been playing a little bit with a CNC and laser hybrid system just to see what we can do with it. But otherwise, it has just been a good week of printing for once. A rubber band SMG. Oh, yep, gotta be careful with those. You know, you can actually you can mess up someone's eye if you hit them wrong with those.
All right, I'm just testing my audio right now.
Okay, that's a little better for sure.
How's this better?
Yes-ish. You're only coming through on the right channel, and you're about probably half my volume.
That's very, very weird.
Yes. You know what? I don't know about you guys, but something must have changed IT-wise this week. I couldn't even launch into my vMix properly because it kept on defaulting to a different webcam device, even though it's overwritten in the settings to go to the right one. So, yeah. When in doubt, restart your computer. Yeah, I think that'll be manageable.
Can you hear me now?
I can definitely hear you now. I guess it's just the background music sounds low.
Marvin says he can't hear me.
Yeah, I don't know what level that thing's pumping out at.
Well, it's pumping out. It hasn't changed.
Oh, weird.
I'll just pump up.
Alrighty. Well,
How's
let's
that
go ahead
better?
and pull up some questions. Oh, there we go. Now we're starting to get into...
I just upped it on the mixer, that's all.
Yeah, and the intro music's still playing. You are correct, Accord. Yeah.
It always plays.
We like some little jamming music in the background these days, so yeah. Oh, well, we can hear you now.
Yeah. Now just shut up.
I can't hear anybody but Brian in my headset.
You're not going to hear anybody but Brian. Anything.
That's usually what happens is people only ever hear me.
All right. Okay, let me move my coffee cup and get ready for today. I want to say, hi, everyone.
Longest intro ever.
Yeah.
What are we at now? 5 minutes?
How long did that take us? 3 minutes? 3.5 minutes. So welcome everybody to the chat today. Welcome to our live stream, Ask for Help. This is where we answer your questions that came in through the last 3 weeks. Because we did an episode with a gentleman from Matter 3D. You guys might remember that when we talked all about Matter 3D filament. Then Brian took over for a week because I was down. And now all of those questions are now in.
So we are backlogged, but we are going to do this today, guys. So bear with us. If you do have an urgent question, we always have Super Chat available that we can jump up the queue there. But we do owe it to our hardcore fans here that have sent us emails. Let's get right on to it here. So from Pierre Blanchard here. Good day to you, Richard and Brian. I'd like to show you... I'd like to know how I could smooth the surface for any type of filaments. Ooh, that's going to be a loaded one. I'm attaching a model made of PLA. You can see the surface is not smooth, and you can really tell it's from a 3D printer. Would there be a liquid chemical that would get rid of the lines and have a smooth surface? My bed leveling does 16-point checks. Is there a line in Marlin I can change where the bed level... Oh, okay, so there's a couple of questions in here. Let's address the first one, print smoothing. Richard, why don't you go ahead? You have a bit more experience with this one than I do.
There are several ways that you can do this. Now, the first way, of course, is if you go ahead and sand it down and fill it, and sand it, fill it, and sand it and get it nice and smooth. Now, if your printer is offsetting your layers, so you get something that looks like this cube here, you can see that there's some layer lines here. So
ooh, those are some good ones.
that this was moving really fast, and this is a cube we showed a couple weeks ago. This was moving really fast, so I've got some layer jumps from layer to layer on the X and Y. So if you have that problem, no amount of chemical smoothing is going to take that away. It's still going to be there. You're just putting something on top of it. What you would want to do is you'd want to sand it out first using about 120 grit sandpaper. Just give it just to knock down those high spots, just like you would if you were doing anything else. Other than that, you can use a product called XTC from Smooth On. It is not a cheap product. It is an epoxy coating that can yellow over time. So if you're putting it over something like white, it can yellow over time. It's just the nature of epoxy. You can combat that by using a little bit of colored ink. I have acrylic inks that I just take. I'll dip the end of my paintbrush in it, and then I'll just drop a very, very small amount into my epoxy. Then I'll paint it on. Now, the other thing about XTC is that it flashes very quickly. What that means is that it's starting, once it flashes, it's going into that curing stage. So if you're going to keep it into a cup, like this, the cup that you mixed it in, it's going to flash really fast and it's going to be unusable. So what you want to do is add a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. The purer the mix of alcohol, the better. And then you're going to mix it up in a cup like this, or a little tiny solo cup, or a shooter cup, or whatever, and then you're going to dump it into something like a tray. You can take a little bit of tin foil and make a little tray and then dump this in. It will not flash as fast because it's spread out over the surface of the area, but when it's like this, all of that heat is contained, so it flashes really fast. A little bit of alcohol will thin it out and give you a little bit of a thinner mix to help you when you are putting it on. Remember, you're going to have to put on more than one coat. So
yeah, and with that, with XTC, you know, that's always the misconception, is that you have to put it on in one batch.
Yeah.
Remember, you know, if anytime you're doing something like acetone smoothing and all that, you're doing a subtractive smoothing. You're taking material away to fill in other grooves, and the problem with that is that if you go and if you take away too much, then your model's ruined. You know, it's why you need more outer walls. It's why you need to keep a close eye on it, and it's a messy process, to be honest with you. Now, XTC is an additive-based one where you're adding material to it. So if you want to retain those same dimensions, you really want to apply it thin. And there's nothing wrong with putting layers upon layers on top of XTC, because it's a less viscous fluid than most resins, and so it's designed to just kind of creep into all those little ruts. So go ahead and paint it thin. Use a foam brush, and it may look a little rough when you're applying it because you're applying such a thin coat, but over the curing time, it will settle into those grooves, and that's the best way to apply it. Now, as for the yellowing, I've got some ideas on that that I'm going to be testing in the future, and we'll talk about that in upcoming episodes.
So,
all right.
I'm seeing some stuff in here about vapor smoothing real quick. Vapor smoothing, literally what it does is it melts the surface. So the weight of the surface, and we'll use this really, really bad benchy, the weight of that surface, now you're not melting it like this, like you would if you put a lighter to it. It's melting and it's dripping down. It's literally sliding down the model. So that's something that you have to be aware of. So vapor smoothing is also very hazardous to your health.
Yes, and
do it
I just
in a well-ventilated area. If you're not familiar with the process of vapor smoothing, please look it up on YouTube. There's plenty of great videos out there about it. Okay, let's move on.
And I just want to say a safety note, because I did see a Kickstarter a couple of weeks ago, and I'm sure everyone here has probably seen it on their Facebook feed, regarding a all-material smoothing chamber. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm very nervous about that thing. And the reason was because when they originally put it out, they suggested using chloroform to smooth PLA. And if you know anything about chemicals, and this is why we say be careful with acetone, you're vaporizing a chemical, right? You know, if you use the wrong chemicals in your bathroom and you create a vapor, it can be very toxic. So when we're talking about ABS, you're vaporizing acetone, which in very light quantities is used in nail polish remover to give you an idea of strength, but in its pure concentration, it's even more aggressive. Then you get into turpentine, and you get into, what is it, ethyl acetate, I think they said, for PLA. I haven't tried it much, but again, this is stuff that really needs to be in an open area, and what you got to watch for when being outside is some of these materials are flammable. So we always say, we prefer it if people go the favor of the additive route and adding a simple resin, just simply because it's safer to work with.
I agree 100% on that.
Yeah.
All right, Jerry, let's go on to that next part of the question from Pierre.
Is Jerry reading that one for us?
In Marlin, I can change where the bed leveling starts. My bed leveling does 16-point check, but it starts at the front right of my bed when my other 3D printers start at the front left, which is my X-Min, my Y-Min. Now, I don't see, Pierre, what printer you're using this on. However, if this is on what I suspect it's on, which would be a Creality Ender 5 or 5 Plus, it is going to go to the opposite corner. And there is a way to change the G-code, and Brian's going to look that up real quick.
I'm just looking into the bilinear section here, because last time, at least the way I've always addressed it, is if your number of grid points, let me just see if I can share this quickly. We're not set up very fancy here. Here we go. All right. So if you can see here, hopefully my screen is broadcasting properly here. If you take a look under bed leveling bilinear, you can see this max grid points 4. And then grid points Y equals grid points X. This kind of is where it determines where it's going to start, because they always want it to end in, I believe it's the upper right corner, in the back corner of the bed. So simply put, if your number is even, it's going to start in the front right, and if it's odd, it's going to start in the front left. And hopefully that's not much of a cop-out answer, but that's just the way Marlin does it. So if you're really insistent on it starting in the bottom left, which is basically your origin point, then you want to have this as an odd number, like 5 or 7 or even 3. But I personally like 4 because it actually gives me an extra grid point, because it tests the center of the bed and then it actually checks 4 points around that. So it's just a user preference at the end of the day. Hopefully that answers your question.
All right. Jerry, have you got a first question from our esteemed colleagues in our chat today? I'm sure she's got one. Can you recommend a video on how to get your first layer right? Yes, we can. It's called
We've got a video. We've got a video that's so good that it recommended it to me the other day on how to get your first layer.
Well, that's all good.
Print's not sticking to the bed. It's been coming up like a boatload of times this week. Now, this is an older one. I'll link it in the chat there. With the black backdrop, was that still at Spool? I can't remember.
Yeah,
2 years ago.
We're all still done at Spool. We haven't done any since we've moved home. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, there's our first layer troubleshooting guide. I won't lie to you. In 2 years, it hasn't changed. It's still the same. You make sure your bed leveling is even across the bed with the paper check.
Yep.
And if you have an ABL, you make sure the ABL is working right.
And that
first layer always curls up and sticks to my nozzle, even though I make the bed really close. Well, that's exactly what it is. Your nozzle's too close to your bed there, Verbs. Yeah. Any kind of curling is usually a result of the material trying to expand out of the nozzle, and the only direction it can go is wrapping around the outside of the nozzle, because there's no room to go downwards to the print. So your first layer is too close to the bed.
Now, we have a question here from Film Factory. He says, should I change my start G-code to heat up my nozzle at the same time as my bed? Your opinion. First and foremost, I'm going to tell you no. Do not change your G-code so that they both heat up at the same time. The reason that you don't want that is because if they're too close together, if your nozzle is too close to your bed and you're heating that up, that heat is radiating to the bed. The bed heat is radiating to your nozzle. So the thermistor that's in here is going to get confused. It's moving too fast. It's heating too fast. So you can run into not filament run out errors, but heat temp errors that will confuse you to no end. Just let it do what it's got to do. Let the bed heat up first, let it acclimate, let the nozzle heat up, let it acclimate, and then just let it start its print. You don't want to do them both at the same time. Brian?
Plus, it's a bit a little bit, yeah. And this is, again, your mileage may vary, but I have had printers where, quite literally, when you spec a power supply for a printer, usually you're finding they're about 350 watts. Now, your heat cartridge uses about 40 to 50 watts, leaving 300 watts left for everything else. A lot of the beds I've seen lately are rated for higher than that. So your power supply, it doesn't just shut off when it draws too much power. It actually drops the voltage a little bit. And you might hear that if you fire up your heater and your nozzle at the same time, you might hear your fan slow down a little bit. Now, where that can be an issue is if that includes your heatsink cooling fan on your hot end, then while you're heating up, you may inadvertently create some heat creep that you weren't looking for, and you may get some unnecessary clogging. So my G-code, for those of you who want a little advice, because I've got a bed leveling probe, what I do is I tell my bed to, my start G-code says heat up the bed and wait for it to be heated up. And then once it's heated up, I tell it to set the nozzle to its runtime temperature, but don't wait for it to heat up, and I tell it to go home. And then that way I can save a little bit of time. But the fact of the matter is, your bed is still going to take about 6 minutes to heat up. And actually, even though it says it's at 60 degrees, we spoke a bit about this last week on the live show, that's the measurement at the bottom of the bed. It doesn't mean the surface of the bed is actually 60 degrees yet. So you may want to give it about 10 minutes of preheat before you do a bed leveling and then a print to ensure that the surface is primed for receiving your model. And remember, at the end of the day, 10 minutes out of a 2-day print is nothing. 10 minutes out of an 8-hour print is nothing. It's only when it's like 10 minutes out of like doing a benchy that it seems really mundane, but it's worth it to put that time into your first layer to make the rest of the print succeed.
All right, we have a question here from Greg Gilliam. He says, good afternoon, Richard and Brian. New Rock 3 Pro guy here. I have an issue that is randomly occurring in a large print that I am currently printing. Everything looks good, and then randomly a line shows up that occurs on every part of the print at the same exact level. Then it's fine for a centimeter or two, even longer. Then it shows up again. Under magnification, it looks like a particular outer wall squish out. What is this called, and what can be the cause? See the attached picture. I've already seen the picture, and I know exactly what's going on because I have.
Can I first say, Greg, that was the best written question I've ever read.
Yes.
Thank you. That was very well described. I was able to visualize it completely. Thank you.
So exactly what's going on there is because of the lead screw, and this is all lead screw mechanical related. This is not anything to do with how the machine is built. It's just mechanical. Now, the lead screw on these are not the same as the lead screws that you're going to find on the Lotmaxx, on the Ender 3, on the Creality CR-10s. Those are what we call 8mm lead screws with an 8mm lead. The ones that are on the Mingda printers are an 8mm lead screw, but with a 4mm lead. So the math is going to be a little different when you're creating those layer heights. Basically what you're seeing there is it goes up so far, and the math just says, okay, to catch up, I've got to extrude a little bit more plastic, or I don't have to extrude enough plastic, or as much as it's telling me to do. So inside the firmware, it's making those decisions on the fly. So that's what you're seeing. So the best thing to do is there is a calculator out there that will allow you to find out exactly what your steps per millimeter will do. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Shep over at Filament Friday, Chuck Hellebuck, did a really good video on explaining how to get that math right, so you know exactly what your layer heights have to be for each resolution that you want to do, whether that be 0.1, 0.12, 0.15, 0.16, and so on and so forth. Now, I would go and check out his video on it because it is really, really good. There's no point in us redoing that because he covers all the bases and he shows you the math.
Now the other thing too is if it's squishing at that point and on every time, it also might be a mechanical binding issue.
Yes.
So I'd like you to fully inspect your Z rod, and the best thing to do, and I always tell this to guys if you get a chance, is just stroke it top to bottom height a couple times, like 4 or 5 times, and just listen for any clicks, any jerks, anything like that, and that will tell you if there's something. Any squeaking, absolutely. And usually at the same time, we spoke about this last week, I apply a little bit of machine oil to the rod, and I kind of I let it stroke up and down to rub that all over the rod. And as kinky as that sounds, you know. But you want to go and you want to go and make sure it can move smoothly, right? You don't want to. I don't want to say you don't want to bareback it, but yeah, you don't want to bareback your rods.
You are just opening up a whole can of worms on my end, man.
It's Friday. It's Sunday. It's not even Friday. It's Sunday. Well, welcome to Sunday when my printers work, guys.
Saintly on Sunday. No, we're not. We're not saintly any day.
No. We're hiding indoors so we don't burn alive the moment we walk out the front door.
Yeah, exactly. We're vampires.
I was a 3-second cover. In order to get demonetized, you have to be monetized first.
Yeah. Well, we are. But.
Yes, but the live shows, we tend not to try to force mid-roll ads on you guys and stuff.
Oh, there's Jerry with a hot question for us from Snapshot.
Perfect.
PV. He says, I have several questions about the LD-002H. I believe one of you saw my pics on TFL.
Yes.
Facebook. Yeah. How long can resin stay in a vat? And 2, can a coffee or paint filter be used to pour unused resin back in the model? Okay, let me answer this because I do more resin printing than anybody in our group.
Oh.
Yes. On the second question, yes, I wouldn't use a coffee filter because it doesn't have enough of a flow through the saturation of the filter.
It's very thick stuff.
Yeah, I would use the paint filters that you buy for your automotive paint. I would buy those. They're really cheap to buy a box. Like it's
even just like paper cones for pouring oil, for a vehicle. There's tons of options. The main thing is you're trying to filter out the large particulates. If there's small stuff, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter for resin. Let's be honest.
That's true. Now, how long can it sit in the vat? It can sit there indefinitely as long as your 3D printer is not in direct sunlight. Now, that being said, while it sits in there, just like when it's sitting in the bottle, it will start to separate because there's heavier components of that liquid that will go to the bottom and then separate. So your color usually is on top, and your brighter stuff, the whiter mixture in that resin, is falling to the bottom. So you may have to go in there with your spatula or something that won't splash and just kind of mix it up a little bit. I try to, and I'm not always very successful at this, but I try to, if I know I'm not going to print for a while, I'll try and empty things out, clean everything, keep the lid on it, keep the dust out of it, and go that direction. So
yeah, you're more susceptible to receiving dust. Now, for those of you who do resin printing, I have a challenge for you this week because this comes up every week talking about resin and curing, and I want to know your opinions. So you're going to need a little bit of resin, you're going to need a piece of paper towel, and you're going to need something disposable like a toothpick. And what I want you to do is take a corner of a piece of paper towel and just dip it in your resin vat, just a little bit. Then I want you to make sure that nothing else can touch it and set it up beside a window in your house. And I want you to take that toothpick at a 1 hour mark and a 4 hour mark and touch that paper towel where where the resin sits and see if it cures. Because up in Canada, all of our windows are treated with UV, and so I can take models off the machine and sit it in my windowsill, and even after a week, the curing will not change. So that's why we can keep resin almost even open air in our houses up here in Canada, and it will honestly never cure. It'll separate, but it will never cure. So, but I've heard different places around the world don't always have that UV treatment, and so I don't want to tell everybody it's safe as long as you're in the house. So I want to see, if it cures for you guys, and then as well too, right? If it sits in the window for 4 hours and it's still in a liquid state, if you spill a little on yourself, you can go over to the sink and rinse it off if need be. You're not going to get those big chemical burns unless it starts to cure in the sun or you have an allergy to some component in there. So just a pro tip there. I'd love to see your results. Let me know if your resin cures inside your house.
Dominic, it says a tea strainer. A tea strainer is fine. However, the tea strainer has holes that are just a little bit too big, so you may get some bigger particulates that will go back through. I really like the paper filters. If you look on Amazon, they've got a metal one that you can set right on top of your funnel. You just set it right on top, you pour your material in, it goes through and it goes back into your bottle. It's pretty clean and easy to do. All right, so let's get to our next question that came in through email, and this came in from Lachlan, who is in our chat today. He says, hello,
hey,
I have a question about the current 3D printer market. Well, then you're asking the wrong people. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah.
He says, I'm looking into possibly getting a new 3D printer other than my Ender 3 Pro. I'm looking for something like a large print bed and possibly better printing. Okay. There are several printers out on the market. There's Lotmaxx, there's Anycubic, there's ANET, there's FlashForge, there's Creality, you name it, the list goes on and on and on and on. Now, will your mileage vary for each one of those? Yes. What do I recommend? If you're already in the Creality ecosystem, I would almost recommend that you stay in the Creality ecosystem and look at the Creality CR-10 S. You don't need to go to the Pro, but you can go to the V2 or the V3, which is fine. They are over $500 in most cases. Some of them are upwards around $700 or $800, depending on which model you buy. But at the end of the day, you really want to make sure that you're getting the right printer for yourself. Now, what would I personally recommend? I do like the Mingdas. I do like the Creality large format printers. I do not like the bluer 3D printers.
We don't talk about the bluer.
Yeah, let's not talk about the bluer. I'm not a big fan of the bluer. I'm not a big fan of the WeDo. You know, the startup companies that have got going over the last couple of years, they don't, I think they suffer from, they don't have the engineering as some of these others like Creality or FlashForge or Mingda. Now I say Mingda because I know it's still a relatively new to the consumer market, but Mingda's been making industrial machines for years.
Yes.
And it's only been in the last couple of years that they started moving to the consumer market because they can and they've got a decent product. Now, Brian and I both work with Mingda behind the scenes to help them improve their products. We also repair them from time to time. They will send us some in Canada for repair. So we do repairs for them as well. But Mingda doesn't have enough tools or spare parts available in the marketplace right now to do a bunch of upgrades if you want to do upgrades or if you wanted to do something different with your printer. They're limited.
Yeah, it's a growing pain, basically.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
And a few other things. So at the end of the day, while I do really like that product and I really like the company, I am not going to steer you towards them because I would steer you more towards Creality. That's what you already have in your ecosystem. Creality makes fine printers, and there are tons of ways to upgrade them if you so choose.
And I've always wanted to get my hands on one of those Ender 5 Pluses, which has the build plate size of a CR-10S, but it's in a cube design, so it takes up less space. That one was influenced highly by Luke Hatfield, who does a lot of work in the community. Yeah. And so I trust that the mechanics of that machine are in great shape. Again, because I haven't had my hands physically on one, I haven't had a chance to review it, so I don't want to tell you definitely get it, but I've heard a lot. Have you heard about the Ender 3 Max? I have heard of it, But I won't lie to you guys. Honestly, the bed slinger design is terrible the bigger the printer gets. You know, the CR-10 just barely pulls it off. It's why the Ender 3s do so well and why the miniature printers are so great. But when you get into something like the size of a CR-10S V2 and you're swinging 5 kilograms of bed weight back and forth, you have to print so slowly to overcome the kinematics of it that it's not really worth the size, and you could probably print it quicker with a part slicing things such as Luban and an Ender 3.
So, yeah, we just answered that question. Now, before we go on to another question here, I want to take an opportunity to thank our members. We are up to 28 members now. Thank you very much for those of you that are in this list below. If I've missed your name in the list below, please let me know, and I will correct that. I was trying to correct them this morning. I've been playing catch-up all week. And I got 9 printers dropped on my doorstep this week for repair from different things. So I've got a busy couple of weeks ahead of me. So that being said, this week's episode, I want to let you know that it was recorded. I just didn't feel that it was up to my caliber of presentation. So I didn't release it. I'm going to re-record it. We'll have a brand new episode for you guys coming out this coming Saturday. I want to know if you guys, for you guys that are in our chat today, we've got 47 people here currently watching. If you are interested in resin printing, for one, if you have a resin printer, and if you'd like Brian and I to do a couple of episodes on resin printers, showing you all the safety and how to handle the materials, how to print with it, what type of software we use. We would love to do a series on that, but we want to make sure that this is something that you guys want to see. So if you do, at the end of the show, in the comments, please put, yes, I want to see resin 3D printing videos from the first layer. And you can even say that here in our chat today, and we'll keep an eye on that as well. Jerry's got another question for us, I'm sure. There we are. It says, I'm about to change my stock extruder to a dual gear. My question is, am I going to have to calibrate my E-steps to just try a small first print? I'm new to this, so thank you. Yes, you are going to have to adjust your E-steps because now you're pulling with 2 gears. So the ratio is a little bit different. That material is moving in a little bit more efficiently than it would with a single gear and an idler. So depending on which one you're using, some companies actually tell you what to change it to. If you are looking for the proper way to do it though, you want to go to Michael Lee's Teaching Tech calibration tool, which is online, and he walks you through all of the steps to do that in plain English, and there's even a calculator there to help you along your way.
Now, if you do want to do a print without changing anything, my safe number for those extruders is usually 1.5 times the default Creality rate. So if you're really insistent on just putting it on and starting a print with something you already had on your G-code files, set your flow rate to 150% while it's printing, and just see how close that comes out. That's the only shortcut I can give you on that one.
There you go. I'm seeing a lot of all of the above. Yeah, of course we want more content. Heck yeah. Okay, so that pretty much is an indication we will start doing more resin 3D printing videos and tutorials. So we will get that for you because I've got some stuff I got to do anyway. So I might as well incorporate it into a video.
I got some stuff too.
And Scott, real quick, because I don't want to make it look like we're ignoring your items there. I will be reviewing that myself on Amazon. Now, I personally have no affiliation with Mingda whatsoever. Just so you guys know. But you know, when it comes to us, we basically are communicating with them because we did want to do some long-term stuff with them. It's just a matter of whenever we see things negative like that, we jump on them, to be honest with you. We like to see that information because we want to get good products out to people. So I will be looking into those reviews. Thank you for the info.
Just to be perfectly honest with you, Mingda is working on their customer service. I'm helping them with that, especially here on the North American end, because when you are in China and you're trying to get information, remember, when we're going to bed, they're having lunch. Their day starts at about
7 or 8, I think it is.
Yeah, 6 to 7 o'clock our time. That's when most of their days are just starting. So getting clear communication from them can be a problem. Now, that being said, I think that they do need improvement in their customer service, absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons that they reached out to me to see if I would be able to help them with some of their Canadian repairs and be able to, help people with any issues that they may be having with their Mingda. So, yes, if you have any questions specifically about your Mingda, or if you have a Mingda, please send them to me. You can send them to questions@thefirstlayer.com. And let me just put that thing up right there. If you send them to questions@thefirstlayer.com, I'm going to get them, and you guys can certainly put in the comment there of the subject what you want to talk about. And if it's Mingda related, please put Mingda related in there, or about the Mingda question. Now, go ahead.
Bear in mind, guys, I was just going to say, when it comes to manufacturers, I want to make this very clear. Even if we had a partnership, customers are always the first priority in our books. So if you guys say, hey, I'm having a big problem with this, we're not going to turn around and say you're an idiot, right? These are serious concerns. We're trying to create a better communication path for everybody, truth be told. That's because, you know what, when I bought Creality stuff back in the day, I had nobody to talk to, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where we're trying to bridge these, is to make it better. And I was just trying to bring up some software on this side. Oh,
like I had said before, that they went from being an industrial 3D printer company where they were making very big 3D printers to a consumer market. Now, translating from business and industrial to consumer, there can be a lot of gaps there. So they've had to create new divisions to handle consumer concerns. And again, there is a language barrier there. You're dealing with China, which speaks Mandarin or Chinese, and trying to get our North American issues across to them can be somewhat of a problem. And remember, at the beginning, they've got a book and some things that they want you to do at the beginning if you're running into issues. I would just as soon, if you've got one and you're in North America, send me your question, and because I've got plenty of their printers around here, I can certainly answer it for you.
Just real quick, I see a question here from John Isaacson saying you want to know how much power does an Ender 3 Pro use? I'm going to figure out more accurate cost. Well, I will be covering that soon, but the simple answer, ballpark, based off a 6.49 cent per kilowatt hour electrical rate, let's just use as a ballpark. If you had your Ender 3 preheated and left preheated 24 hours a day, at the most, it would cost you $7.50 to leave powered on 24/7 for a month. So we're going to go through that in a future video because there's a lot to it, just so you know.
And a Cord XTC, I'm really starting to not like you. I'd like to see a video on Jerry's printer repair. LOL, just saying. Don't listen to her.
I think we just determined we're going to save that for the Christmas reel, where it's just an hour of YouTube bickering at each other.
Yeah, we could do that.
Read it now.
I am going to fix it for her. Just I have other priorities first, and she's got a dozen printers around this house that she can use.
Yeah, it's not like she had the only printer. She just has to say, "Hey, print me this."
Yeah, well, she knows how to use the printer. So, Robert 954, could you make some videos on the repairs of the printers? Yes, absolutely, I can. Absolutely.
We're really hoping to do that because when we get printers back, we're always curious of what went wrong, right? And if we can help you identify that, there are sometimes it is manufacturer's issues. I won't lie. In fact, many times it can be, but most of the time it's a user issue. In fact, I bought probably 4 used Ender 3s, one of which came pretty much brand new sealed, and another one, it's like, how the heck is the aluminum not bent? Because it came back in a crumpled ball. It's a shot in the dark, but if you are relatively comfortable with those printers, you can save a killing buying aftermarket ones. Not so much on like Kijiji or all that, but if you get in touch with the right Amazon sellers. So
Yes. So that's definitely something to look at. Dominic Versetto, he says, I need to insert a bunch of magnets at a certain layer. How do I do that with a resin printer?
Oh, that is messy. Yeah. You don't want to do that.
Not with a resin printer.
No, you're going to cause too many headaches. You're actually better to print your resin parts in multiple pieces, put the magnets in, and then get a little bit of the resin and glue it together with its own material.
Yeah. Unlike FDM, resin, because it's lifting and you can't see where it is, it's not as easy to pause at a level to insert some magnets because it's going up and down like this. So gravity is going to pull that magnet right out. So at the end of the day, what I recommend is, just like Brian said, print it in multiple parts where you can insert the magnets with a little bit of CA glue and then put it together. That would be the best way to do that.
So Scott, in regards to your thing about the Comgrow, my understanding is now Comgrow is a part of Creality. It's just the open box division, if you will. And because Ben Liu, I think, is the CEO of Creality, he updated his photo to Comgrow recently. So I'm pretty sure they're the same company.
Yeah, I think they bought Comgrow.
Something like that. And Comgrow has always been an official distributor of Creality products. So whenever you saw like a Comgrow Ender 3, it was basically a stock Ender 3 with a different sticker on it. Comgrow selling refurbished Creality, yeah, and I think that's what they've done. So I don't know the full story of things, but in the Wild West days, Amazon sellers couldn't get their products back fairly well. Now companies are trying to sign some deals with different people, including us, to say, hey, do you want to refurbish printers for us? And then, our caveat, I'm going to be honest with you guys, our caveat is 100%. We will not do it unless you promise to sell them as refurbished status. Yeah. Because we've seen horror stories of people receiving new printers that, even though they operate fine, you open a box and you're going to be like, this is used. So,
yeah,
that's our big caveat.
Outside of the box, if it's used. Doesn't matter how well it's packed. The Louis Eric, he says, to improve quality, is it worth replacing stock motors off a Creality or any cubic to LDO branded 0.9 degree stepper motors? No.
Not really. I mean, you can put it on the extruder if you want that extra precision, but usually the only time I replace steppers is when I've increased the weight of something and I need a higher torque. So I bought some NEMA 17 steppers from Amazon recently that were actually 2 Trees branded, and they're working great. I've also before, bought big old steppers, and believe it or not, these are actually way noisier than the small motors and cause me more headaches than good. So I would always say don't upgrade your motors unless you're pretty sure something's wrong with them, and you can immediately tell usually by harmonics, by it generating a consistent frequency, or vibration, or other factors like that. Usually you'll see pulsing on your extruder, for instance.
Yeah. And the other thing, if you're not familiar with the firmware, because you're going to have to make differences in the firmware to accommodate for that different step ratio, as opposed to 1.8 or 0.9. Most of them are 1.8, and the 0.9 steppers, they're more efficient, yes, but you are going to have to know about how to use the firmware and how to make changes in the firmware to represent those changes.
And and this is something we'll be discussing more down the road here, is the motor windings can change too. So we'll cover all that in an upcoming segment.
We will definitely. Jerry, have you got another question? Nope. Okay, let's go to our last question, and this is from Barrows. I hope I said that right. He says, I'm doing a great job, or you are doing a great job in your channel, and you have enlightened me, but after watching a bunch of your videos about leveling, I discovered all this time I didn't pay attention to an obvious failure in my printer, and I couldn't find a fix for it and the web. So here we are. I have a Micromake C1 printer. Brian, you can pull that up if you can. A Micromake C1 printer, and the problem is all 4 corners are okay in terms of leveling, but however the nozzle carrier on the x-axis moves from right to left, or left to right. The Z-axis starts up to lift up, leaving a big gap when the nozzle is in the middle. For days I thought that maybe the bed was the issue, but the bed is glass and it is flat. I can actually see when the Z-axis rises up, and even I hear the click when releasing the Z-axis micro switch. When it rises, this problem drives me crazy. It's not just a little bit, it's at least 5 pages thickness of paper. Have you experienced anything like this? I tightened and loosened every belt, but the problem, it remains. I hope to find something that you can help me with. Well, this is the Micromake. Let me just go full screen.
Yeah, you got a photo. You got. So it looks just like a Creality printer, if you will, or any other printer. It's got the bed. It's got posts on it. Honestly, what it sounds like there, if you're saying you have a big divot in your center, it sounds like your bed is warped. Your actual material from the factory is warped.
Well, that's not necessarily true. Based on the letter, it says that it's actually lifting, because he can hear it lifting off of the switch. So the Z-axis, there's something wrong, I think.
Oh.
It sounds to me like there's something wrong in the firmware.
Now, I don't think does this have bed leveling?
No, it doesn't look like it has auto bed leveling at all.
Yeah, it's so hard to tell with a lot of these products, right? I mean, first of all, this thing has no part cooling fan.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Suggested temperature, machine size, weight. Nothing. It's very little information on here. I won't lie to you. So, if we look at this gantry design, okay, so it's so you see this? It's belt driven.
Yeah, it's not
for its Z
driven.
So that might be actually a sagging issue. If you're hearing it lift around, usually when you see these motors moving, when you're printing, it means it has some kind of bed leveling data stored in there, but you have no bed leveling sensors here by the looks of it. I'm just seeing if they show the end stop. Complete panel, pay attention to details. Okay. I mean, with the exception of these gantries, it really is just a stock, it's like an Ender 3 design. Where on earth is that? I'm just not seeing an end stop. Oh, there it is, probably right there, that little guy there. Is that an optical end stop?
No, it looks like it's a switch.
Okay. Let's look at that part list. This is the problem, when there's so many printers out there, this is why we always say buy something that everybody has, because you just never know, right? So, I'm sorry, I can't tell. They might be physical switches. They look like an optical one to me, but
it looks like
they'd be an
I
idiot.
think they're physical switches, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, so if you're seeing it sag around, I mean, you've got 2 motors in parallel here, right? So what I would check is I would check all your wiring just to make sure that they're synchronized.
Yeah.
And you may have to wheel these motors by hand a little bit to square off your gantry. Do you remember which video it was we covered the 3, 4, 5 blocks in?
No, not off the top of my head.
No, okay, it's been a while.
We've done 350 videos, man.
Yeah, that's our problem. So we're kind of shooting in the dark here, guys, honestly. I would definitely say just check into those belts, make sure they're nice and tight.
Yeah.
A superconductor or superconductor says maybe adjust the belt tension. Yeah, I don't know if they're actually. This is the problem when you have a design like that, that there is no ability to adjust the tension.
Yeah, that's true.
So
and if it is going along that plane, I'm just going to cut back to the both of us here.
Yes.
If it's doing this and then doing this, and then continuing along its plane, the problem that you are having, that's got to be software related. There's a command that's in there that says at these coordinates, lift it this high, and then drop it again at these coordinates. So that is either part of something that's in your slicer, which I doubt. I think it has something to do with the physical motherboard and the firmware that's on the motherboard.
I would really like to see a video of that, by the way.
Yeah, I'd love to see video of that. Would make our lives so much easier. He says, for those watching, M3D filament rocks. No issues on my mostly stock E3. Prints are smooth. The layer adhesion is off the charts. Great stuff. And I can't agree with you more. I really like their filament. We don't work for them, but we are working with them to help bring a product to market that is going to be great for everybody. And they are going to be expanding their colors. They're going to be having a grand opening of their facility in April sometime. We were shooting for the beginning of April where I would go out there and do some filming, but it looks like now it's going to go to the end of April, sometime in May perhaps. So that'll be coming. But yes, I agree. Their product is good. Their product is top notch. It's worth every penny.
It's stupidly strong. You know, I was just playing around with a piece I had printed here with a sample, and you know, I can't compress this. I'm trying. You know, I managed to break this piece off just now, just barely, but man, did that take some force. Like, that's the one thing. You know, we were talking last week because there was some confusion. It is a high temp PLA.
Yes.
So because it's super strong, we're going to be doing some tests with it soon. But it's basically the melting point is a little bit higher. So you may be able to print nicely at 210. A lot of people, though, we found 220, 225 sometimes is the best for adhesion. But by going that hotter temperature, you're creating something that, I kid you not, I think this stuff is stronger than PETG. I just don't have
I think it is too.
Equipment on hand to try it. So yeah, it's good stuff. Accord XCC is asking, did the M3D Winners filament get shipped out?
I believe it did.
We will check in on that. We're talking with...
we did send them all the addresses and everybody, so they are shipping those out.
He's one of the winners.
And yeah, Accord was one of the winners, and I believe if it hasn't gone out yet, it'll be going out soon. But we're going to be talking with Amin later today about some other stuff.
Yeah, so we'll triple confirm that. What you have to understand is up here, unfortunately, our national post system here, Canada Post, is still in shambles basically after the year of COVID. So we're just starting to get back to getting regular shipments on things. In fact, the other day I placed my first AliExpress order in about a year and a half because everything else was 8 months beforehand. But it's probably in transit. We will confirm that today.
Now, for anybody that's interested, this has a little bit of color flake in it, but this is what your material looks like before they make it into your filament. This is actually the high quality stuff that they use. You can see those little black speckles in there. That is to make this black. And you can see it doesn't take a lot to make that black. So
no, and
they
you
sent
have
me a
to...
bag of this to show, and that's exactly what it looks like. It is just a round resin pellet that melts, and this is PLA in this bag. So
yeah, and it's so I won't lie to you, working with M3D here, I've learned a lot more about the PLA plastics and stuff, and this is something we're going to look into a lot more in the future. But needless to say, because me being Mr. Critic, I go around and I compare against all the other companies and what they're available, and I say, well, this one's cheaper, why is it that? And so when I looked at this, let's put it this way, M3D had an answer for me for everything, and it was a very satisfactory answer. Needless to say, the NatureWorks plastic they are purchasing is not the same one used in cheaper brands in both Canada and the US. I just want to say that because, and that's why this stuff is so much more high temp. It's actually a better grade PLA plastic just for the pellets. And then for the colors, they have to make sure they get the right color pellets to match the material. We had one batch where they had sent them the wrong things, and they sent us a reel just to try it, and you know, it didn't work. Honestly, it did not work at all in any of our machines. So they were happy to get that all corrected, but it gave us a chance to see how the PLA color agents can basically contaminate a perfectly good batch of PLA.
yes. And when you put in the wrong material, when it contaminates, it just makes it bad. Now, somebody asked, is there going to be a segment on Jerry's build? Now, if you're asking if that's for the Jerry repair on her little cadet printer, it won't be probably for a few weeks yet. But it will get filmed and get done, just so you guys know. I've got other repairs that I have to do. I have a CR-10 awaiting new firmware. really sure why it's doing what it's doing. There might be something else wrong, so I have to go through that. Then I've got another client who is bringing me 2 printers to have lights and BL touches put on. Then I have 9 printers that are in for repair right now, so I have to check them all individually and see exactly what they need. Do you have?
So I think what we're gonna do is once we have the parts on hand, we'll try and schedule a few live streams with you guys where we implement those fixes.
So this is from Scott Warnock. He says, do you have any experience with GST 3D or Copier to Go PLA Plus filaments? I get my Facebook ads for 10 kilograms for 120 US. Good comments on ads, but deal seems too good to be true. I've not any experience with either one of those companies, so I don't know what their products are like. I can tell you from my own experience what products I really do like in terms of filaments. If you're looking for a filament that's a little lower priced, I'm going to say Arion all the way. I really like the Arion. Again, Arion is limited in the capacity of colors that they have, but they have really good PLA. They have really good PETG. It is definitely worth looking at it, and you can find it at our shop on Amazon. You can go to our. Let me just see if I've got the. Do I have it here still? I had it earlier.
Now, I won't lie to you guys. I'm just watching a video on this GST 3D that's on their website. They actually go through the whole factory tour there, and you know, I won't lie to you. I'm seeing a lot of similarities with what they're doing with things like what Matter 3D are doing. So they're a small company who are doing local production of filament. The only thing I don't like is, you know, the whole website's all about bundles and stuff like that. It doesn't talk really much about the material. It just says that it's PLA plus. Yeah. So that's my hesitant point there is, you know, with Matter 3D, I have all the information I need about that material. Yes. And yeah, it truly is a spirited material. Now, this company, honestly, I won't lie to you, I think they're going to be hurting at the prices they're charging if they're producing domestically. But if you're in the U.S., it's actually a pretty good deal to get the 10 rolls for 120. But I would say buy 1 roll and see how it prints first before you buy 10.
Again, I wouldn't buy 10 rolls of something I've never used.
No, exactly.
I would get 1 roll and test it out, and maybe get 2 rolls of different colors and test it out. But I can tell you, from my own experience, I really like Arion products. They are very good. Matter 3D is Canadian owned, so they're going to be my go-to, even though they don't have a lot of colors right now, but they are making more colors.
Yeah, at the end of the day, remember when you're buying filament, choose what you're going to use it for at the end of the day. Most of the time, Richard and I buy gray because we don't care to pay the extra premium for colors because we're going to paint over top of it. Yeah. And then when it comes to, we're looking for long-term viability. We want, if we do a print of a model that we paint, we want it to last 30 years. We don't want it to last a year or something like that. And that's what you got to watch out with this cheap stuff, you know, is that it may not be good for long-term either. But if you're just wanting to burn through a bunch of filament for a prototype, or you're making molds or whatever, then yeah, go for the cheapest stuff you can get as long as it flows through your machine reliably.
Now, in our Amazon store, remember, if you go to our Amazon store and there's something there that you want, or that it's not there in our Amazon store, just drop me an email at richard@thefirstlayer and ask me to put it into the store, and I can put it into the store because we make a little bit of money off of every sale. It doesn't cost you any extra, but we make a little bit of money off of every sale from our Amazon store, and it really goes to helping us to produce new content, get things in like boards that sometimes we can't get in, or new accessories that companies just aren't willing to send out. So, and there's the filament that I've curated in there is all filament that I've used and that I trust. So that's someplace to look is Amazon. Form Future is very good. Yeah, there's just tons of them that I really like. So
now I just wanted to quickly answer Mac KC's question here, because this is actually a really good question. What is a good way to calculate current for the drivers in UART? I'm just going to show you guys this real quick in Marlin, because this is a great question. When it comes to dealing with the headaches of trying to figure out motor currents. If you're doing it on the motor stepper itself, it's a headache and a half because you have to know the R sense and there's a formula and all that. The moment you go to UART, it's actually all done in the firmware for you. So if we take a look at this, if axis is TMCX in this case, we can see the current that we put in here is 800 milliamps. Now, that doesn't really mean a lot to most people, except for the fact that this is actually directly the milliamp for your motor. So if you have a motor that's rated for 1600 milliamps, you would put ideally 1600, but usually I'll find they overheat, so maybe put 1400 there or something. And you can edit that right with, I believe it's M912 in Marlin. Now, you might wonder, how does that correlate through? Well, you have to make sure this R-sense value here is set according to your stepper. Almost every company I know of right now uses a 110 ohm resistor, which comes in here as 0.11. But if you have something like a 5160, you're going to have something in here like 0.075 if it's a 750 or 75 ohm. So as long as you leave that there, it's going to be a direct one-to-one current setting. And we're going to go ahead and say hello, Super Chat.
Yes, we got a super chat. First, before we get into that, and Henry, I don't mean to put you off, but I do want to recognize the comment that Jerry's got here. He says, this is from World Planet Gadget. He says, I live in Belgium and you start live here at 1900 and would rather watch you than the news. I would like to thank you for your commitment and info. Thank you very much for the very kind words. We do appreciate it. It's fans like you guys that keep us coming back each and every week. Henry Stofferin, thank you very, very much for your super chat.
Thank you so much.
It does go a long way to helping us out. He says, hello, did you get any SKR3 Minis V2s in your CR10 yet? No, I haven't. And once that all of that shows up, I do have to contact them. Again, world shipping is just bonkers.
It's in shambles, you know, and we like sit on our boards here, right? Like I try to keep a spare of every board that I can get a hold of, honestly, and I just don't have any spare 2.0s right now. Otherwise, we would jump ahead and do it. But Henry, if you're in the middle of that project and you're stuck and you're waiting on us, please send us an email, and we'll make sure to keep you moving along so you're not waiting for us to complete it. Unfortunately, you know, we've had a lot of manufacturers before to truthfully say, we're going to send you something, and then 4 months later, nothing shows up. So I don't want to keep you waiting there. If you have it, get in touch with us, and we'll help you get rolling.
Yeah. If I have to do an online call with you to help you, I certainly will. Hey, there's our good friend Mark L. Baker, no relation to Brian L. Baker.
Ooh, I got a new middle name. Ooh.
I don't know. He says, hello again. Quick, what would be the best filament to use for RC catamaran speedboat? I would use PETG, or I would use
ABS,
a good quality ABS, because you're putting a lot of force on that as it's hitting each wave. We're still trying to decide what we're doing for the summer. You know, last year we did rockets, which was a lot of fun.
Hey, there's Sam Prentice there, by the way.
Hey, Sam.
Hello from the other side of the world, and Joseph Jolly.
Super chat from Joseph Jolly. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Again, all that goes to helping out. And you can see down at the bottom, I'm running our members again. If you want to become a member, there's a join button right underneath this video. You can go ahead and click that join button, and it will tell you what different memberships are available. Super chat always helps us out. We do like you to have a question if you're going to give us a super chat, because
we feel bad. Otherwise we're just begging on the street corner. You know, I need to get some coins in this can, just start rattling it on screen or something.
There you go. Sam Prentice, welcome to the show. I am going to have Sam on here. We're going to have him on one of our live streams coming up fairly soon. We just have to arrange times and get our schedule.
Maybe when the world reopens, we can do a robot off or something, do a robot wars.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys have any idea of what you'd like to see us do, we were thinking about RC, so we can go car, boat, plane. We have files for all three types of RC vehicle. So if that's something that you would like us to cover for the summer, let us know, and we'll get started printing something as well. So we are over time again, and I know.
Yeah.
I wanted to let
I
you
got
guys
caffeinated.
know. Yeah, me too. Oh yeah, it's just you on the screen, not both of us. See?
Yeah, it's just been me. I've just been sitting here doing a dance the whole time.
That's okay. So, if there's something you'd like us to do this summer as a summer project, you want to follow along, please put it into the comments down below this video when the stream stops, or put it into the chat right now, and we will have starships. Loch Ness. We're not doing starships.
You know, I did. I am in the process of printing some Starship prototypes, or like serial number 9 and serial number 10, because I wouldn't mind blowing them up. But yeah, I got to find some firecrackers in a good field.
RC Benchy Snapshot FPV. That might be a challenge.
Yeah, I might have to put some ailerons on it, but yeah, we could do it.
Yeah, we could do it.
I won't lie to you guys. The thing I bought this week was low friction tape and neodymium magnets, because I want to try doing an intrinsically sealed motor spinning through a. So what we might be, what we might be end up seeing is a high speed filament dryer box on the water. Will it keep the filament dry? We'll see.
So yeah, we're looking at a few things. If you guys have any suggestions, please put them in the comments after the video. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you got some value out of today, and because we always look forward to that. And give us a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. And if you have been here for a while and you like our content, maybe you might consider joining us in our membership. We've got another members-only live stream coming up here in another week or so. We're going to try and do one before the end of the month. Brian and I just have to get our schedules. You'll notice that besides some of the names in the chat today, there are different color little icons. And that's because those people have been members of our membership here on YouTube, or our YouTube membership, for upwards of around 2 months now. And some of them. And as the months go by, those little icons change. So we've got some more to add to our emojis. So there's some special emojis that you guys will be able to get as well. So again, thank you for everybody that showed up today. Brian's typing madly. Thank you for
I'm just responding quickly to AK Data Twins question. Yes, PET G should hold up fine against salt water.
Yes.
PET G is like pop bottle plastic. So yeah.
So yes, again, thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, Lachlan!
Brian,
1 year ago today was our planned interview date.
What's that?
Were we planning on interviewing Loch Ness a year ago? I think so.
Well, we were planning on having him on the show.
Yeah. Oh my gosh!
When we were still in
it's been a long.
Place.
Yeah, it's been a long year, guys. Thank you for supporting all of us, and we're gonna get back to doing some fun printing here this week.
Yes, lots of fun printing, lots of photographing.
Absolutely.
Brian and I are starting with something,
yes,
but we're not going to talk to you guys about it yet. Secrets.
That's because he fixes his machine and doesn't fix mine.
Oh my God! Here we go.
Oh, here it goes. Here it goes. All right, members, you let us know in the chat if you want the members only stream to be Richard fixing Jerry's printer instead of us having a hangout. You let us know, okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and there's a Cord XTC just laughing. Again, remember,
the little
guys.
Yes.
Remember, I'm never even going to get this out. We appreciate all you guys. You're part of our family. Even if you're not a member of our group here on YouTube, you're not one of our members, you still are family. And it doesn't matter if you've been here a day, a month, followed us for 3+ years. We all consider you guys each and every one of our family, and we enjoy bringing you the best information that we know.
We miss you. Love me.
We miss you.
Love me.
We want to. Every year we do a meetup for our local fans in the area, and this year and last year we didn't do one, and this year we can't do one because of COVID. So until things open up again, we are going to do another. We may do a virtual one. What do you think? If you guys want to see?
Yeah, I'd be down for a virtual one. I'd be okay for that.
What do you print Nigatech at? I don't know what you print Nigatech at.
Yeah, I maybe Ninja Tech. I don't know. It'd be hotter.
Ninja Tech would be a little bit hotter. Yeah, I would think.
Yeah.
And there's all
guys,
kinds of
temp
Ninja
towers.
Tech
That's all I'm gonna say. Temp towers. Now, again, because we don't like to step on each other's heels. Chuck Hellebuck, Shep there, did a video, I think it was either this week or last week, on dialing in your retraction settings using Cura. Yep. So take a look at that video too. Between the two of those will be great. Robert Marvinson, your comments include a link to M3D. They've soft launched the website, to be honest. So
yeah, it's still soft launched. They haven't done a full launch yet. So it is matter3d.com if you're looking.
Yeah, and that I believe that should take you right into the store. Yes, and you can have a look at everything they've got there.
Yeah. So until we see you guys next week with our, first of all, for our members, our new tip of the week will be coming out on Tuesday. And if you have any suggestions, members, be sure to send them to us so that we can put those into effect. And yeah, we'll let you guys know when we're going to do that live stream, and let you know if I'm going to be fixing Jerry's printer during that live stream, or we're going to just have a hangout like we did the last one. So until we see you guys next time, go ahead, Brian.
Maybe I was going to say maybe I'll co-stream it as a live reaction.
There you go. Until that time, you guys remember, the first layer is always your foundation to a great print, and we will see you again on Tuesday for our members, and again for everybody on Saturday.
Bye for now.